All rise, please, for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the March 4th, 2013 Red Hook Village Board meeting. Here it is, March. We may have broken the back of winter, but we do have the threat of something, Wednesday night into Thursday. So hopefully it stays to the south of us and leaves our snow removal budget alone. But we'll see what's up with that. I thought we'd alter things a bit, but first let's look at the minutes from last month's meeting. And then this was a busy month for the board. We're in budget mode. So we've had workshops on the 14th, 21st, and 28th. They're in your packets. The workshops are one-pagers primarily, and then the full monthly minutes are there. Are there any additions, alterations, or corrections?
Yes, no corrections.
Okay.
I believe it was the 28th. On the village parking lot, number 3. The Salisbury Bank price for the village parking lot on the 15-year loan is 3.16.
Okay. We had a little dyslexia there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Even in my notes.
Yeah, when I read them today, I mentioned to Cindy,
And I had
so I'm glad we corrected that.
That's it.
Because like we know, mortgage interest rates are really low at this point in time, so 6 looked a little high. Thank you for that. So there's that one correction on the February 28th. Is there a motion to acknowledge that correction and admit it's correct and make that change? Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? Okay, so we'll correct that to 3.16 on that 15-year note. Don't worry, folks, we didn't borrow any money. We're just talking about mortgage rates and loan rates, rather. And with the composite pack, then, is there a motion to accept those? Would be a total of 4 weeks worth of meetings there. Is there a motion to accept them? Is there a second?
Second.
So voted. Motion carries. They're approved. And like I said, when we thought we'd go a little bit out of order, we have Justice Treeblasser here tonight, and he does some hard work for us and grabs some grants from the state at different points in time, and I think he has some good news for us on that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. It's always a pleasure to come before the board with good news, and we again have obtained a grant for court operations, this time a grant of $3,985 to purchase a computer server and a wireless internet router. And this particular server will be of sufficient capacity not only to take care of the court's computers and link them up for better efficiency among the court clerks and the 2 judges, but we'll have a little bit left over for other portions of village governance. Understanding, of course, that certain security enhancements will be in effect so that the court's aspect of the server will be separate and apart because of the confidential nature of our files. This is the 5th year that we've obtained grants for the Red Hook courts. We've brought in a total of over $71,000 in grants to run the courts both here in the village and in the town. The lion's share of that coming to the village. In fact, just about everything you see in this room was paid for by our grant, not Mr. Kowalczyk, no. But his microphone was, the bench was, the public address system, and the phone. So we're very, very proud of the fact that we were able to obtain all these grants and therefore provide all of these courtroom and court office enhancements at no direct cost to the Red Hook taxpayer. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board or members of the public or the press may have on any of this.
Is this a computer that we're purchasing or that comes from the state and then?
They are allowing we got an estimate from our computer technician, Mr. Heinlein. We sent that estimate up to Albany, they've approved it, so he's now purchasing it, and the money should come in a wire transfer, I should say, to Cindy at some point in the near future.
And Judge, what was the gross amount of the grant again?
This year's grant?
Yeah.
$3,985. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or from the public? No? Okay, well.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks for your hard
pleasure
work.
as always.
And I don't know if you want to stick around or we thought we'd get you up first, so if you want to leave, you can go back to work.
Well, it's only a question of going back next door and finishing some
Good.
paperwork.
Yeah, we saw you in there working. Okay.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you, John.
All right.
All right. And like Jonah said, we have already authorized our tech person to order the server, and that'll get in here shortly. Let's see, we'll go back to normal routine cycle of business here. First thing is the treasurer's report from clerk Cole.
Balances as of February 28th, the general fund, $126,318.55. Water fund balance, $75,704.24. Trust and agency, $14,917.10. Resource recovery, $89.72. Petty cash, $13.98. Village green, $2,533.16. Hard scrabble, $1,853.15. Health insurance, $2,410.58. General fund, monthly expenses of $107,096.90. Water fund, expenses $33,567.61. Trust and agency expenses, $15,795.89. And resource recovery expenses, $4,249.75.
Okay, and then, as always, we have attached the details of the annual expenses to date. And like we mentioned last month, the treasurer feels that at this point in time, for the first time in a long time, we've got
Very, very
pretty
pleased.
decent balances and so forth. And there's still some funds to come in from some of our non-tax resources. That's that franchise fees and power rental, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, chips
yeah.
has to come in yet.
Okay.
Quite a lot, actually.
So that's good. And then, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on it? It's just one thought. Last month, we were at 75% of the year, and it looked like all the various departments were holding at just about 68 to 70% of budget, so that was nice. I haven't analyzed this report yet, but we could look at that next day or two and see. But we can use these numbers. The board's been meeting once a week pretty much on the new budget, so as these numbers get firmer, we have been working off a 6-month budget point, but these will be stronger to look at, so that's good. I don't think we voted on the acceptance. Is there a vote to accept the minutes? Oh, excuse me, accept the treasurer's report?
You did.
I did vote on it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Looks like I normally go next with the police report, but Sergeant Hillebrand's here today. Would you like to give us your report?
In the town of Red Hook, we had 34 incidents, 3 arrests, and 21 UTTs. In the village of Red Hook, we had 106 incidents, 6 arrests, and 61 UTTs for the month of February. Also, with the judge speaking about, he has some grant stuff that we've been working on, and we're doing the same thing for the police department. We're just completing our the one grant we got from the state for $9,500. So that's just coming to be finalized now. And then working on another grant, which I got approved for live scan, which is about a $20,000 piece of equipment. And if no one knows what live scan is, the state's getting away from taking ink fingerprints. They used to take the fingerprints, send the cards to the state, they put them in the system. Live scan is all computerized. Over the past couple of years, they've been talking about a mandated thing, and obviously to have to spend $20,000 on a live scan is something that would be tough for us to do, so. We worked out a grant, I got involved in it, so looks like that's going to be a good one in that next few months. And that is it.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we could go to Mr. Trustee Zarchuk on the water and any facilities reports you have.
Okay. 2 bacteria samples were taken and submitted.
Steve, you got a little write-up for you too.
Oh, good.
Well, okay. Okay, the average water consumption for the month was 243,286 gallons. 6,812,000 gallons total. In February of 2012, the average was 236,000 gallons, 236,655, which we have, we made a little bit of upscale where we were coming down monthly. Now we're, I see, don't know what that is, but we did advance about 10,000 gallons. Two total chloroform bacteria samples were taken and tested at a laboratory. Both results were negative for bacteria. 125 gallons of hypochlorite were delivered at the water treatment plant. Maintenance was performed on the chlorine injection quill and the chlorine analyzer. Water supply wells 1, 3, 4, 9, and 12 were rehabilitated by the Smith well drilling, and their specific capacity generally increased by 100%. 2 safe dig tolls were received. Both were for private water lines.
Okay.
And the one building I have is, did you get anywhere with the analysis of the paint on the wall down there?
No. What Steve's talking about, we want to do some painting in the basement, but we don't want to go disturbing too much down there, so we're going to hold off till we do that.
Okay.
And just for the record, in the month of February, on February 14th, our current water operator, A.W. Kuhn and Sons, resigned suddenly from the job. So what you saw was CT Mail, local engineer for the major water project, is on site, and they've taken over the water operations with certified DEC operators and so forth under their jurisdiction. We've properly filed the change with the Dutchess County Department of Health, and it's been working quite well. A little bit of a change in the middle of the month, but we do have things covered, both on the first level, the site production area, and the backup if we have to dig and replace or repair any mains. We have that covered too. And a bunch of us worked hard. I really like to commend the board. It was a sudden departure of the other firm. They've been here 15 plus years, and we had to do a lot of hard work one Friday afternoon for many hours to get it lined up and going. The system feeds 2,200 people roughly with clean and pure water, and it still does, and we're proud of that. So that's that report. Let's see, Mr. Trustee Trapp.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to go?
Last month, we were down some people in the building, planning, zoning department, so the reports are not issued, but I have them this month, and I'm going to subject you to these reports. So you'll have not 1 but 2 here. This is from January 2013. We had 4 building permits issued, 1 CVO issued, 8 certificates of compliance issued, 2 municipal searches were conducted. Sam conducted 7 fire inspections and 20 general inspections, general building inspections. There was no planning or zoning agenda, and the money tendered in the building department last month in January was $3,845. And that was very welcome some come in. And for February 2013, we had 5 building permits issued, no COs, 3 certificates of compliance, 2 municipal searches were conducted, no fire inspections, no complaints, no formal complaints, I'll get into that. Sam conducted 8 inspections as well, and the planning board had a couple of items in front of them, a sign and a subdivision, and the ZBA had a use and area variance application in front of them. And for the month of February, $725 was taken in by the building department. A couple of other things that the village board has decided, and rightly so, to begin reviewing the village code for possible areas of revision. Could either be revision, could be new code, could be elimination of some portions of code. So there are 2 members of the zoning board, 2 members of the planning board, and myself who have begun this process. We figure anywhere between 10 to 12 months for substantial completion, but we will report as we get things kind of pulled together to the village board, and we'll have them here probably maybe the next month or a month or so beyond that. And we had a very colorful discussion last time. I think it was good. We touched on a lot of things. I think a lot of areas were opened up, and each one of the members of the committee has a certain sense of what they would like to look at, and that's the job. We meet, we're going to try and meet basically every 2 weeks for a couple hours, and in those meetings, the meeting coming up is going to be, I'm expecting everybody to come in with their zoning booklet with a great many Post-its in it, and we'll start to identify those areas and then begin to do our research. We talked about where web-based data sources would be available, and I think we're going to go through that, and everybody, I hope, is going to look at other municipalities' codes for how they constructed it and what items they included or did not include in their various signage or their district regulations. And I think it's going to be good. I think it's really good for us. Part of the, let's see, it's just, I'm seeing the village start to come to life. We talked about behind the old soap factory, Knollwood Commons has started to come alive. You see the signs back there. And I understand that Anderson Commons is maybe going to be in front of the planning board of the town not too long, maybe this week or this month. And all those things are in the zone, I guess the last bit of zoning that Brent and I crafted here, the NMU zone, the neighborhood mixed use. So these guys are coming forward, and it's starting to come back to life, and it's exciting because these projects were heartily endorsed by Dutchess County Planning because they embraced all the specific goals that Brent and I tried to put forth in this zone. So that's kind of nice, come springtime, hopefully these guys will be hitting it, And we had been looking at some of the regulations that New York State has instituted, and we're not always on the very, very front edge of everything. So the thing that we had sort of recently come up on were backflow preventers, which there are a number of businesses and functions in the village that need to have the backflow prevention devices installed, and we're trying to determine how many of them have been installed, how many need to be installed, and move forward on that. It's not a village choice, it's a New York State Department of Health law that says that these things have to be in place to then protect the water supply in the village of Redwood. And we've been having a little bit of help from various folks on how to approach this, and as more comes forward, I'm sure either me or Ed will give you more information on that. We're moving on that, and now is the time for Girl Scout cookies. Now, buy your cookies, buy lots of boxes, and put them in the hugs from home if you're worried about gaining weight. Put them back there. That's what I always do. I buy 3 or 4 boxes, and I put them back there. So all you guys out there buy cookies. And there's some people probably very close to this board right now that are selling cookies as we speak.
We have to watch conflict of interest there, though, so
Okay.
don't promote that too hard.
And we had, it's always, as an elected official, people ask you questions if they see something they don't like. So we've had some recent questions, and they are not formal complaints, so don't really say anything about them until they're formalized. But everybody has a question about who's building what, and can they really do that, and how do they get the permission to do that. So we're going through a few things like that with the building department, the CEO's office. So, and there's maybe some exciting businesses coming into the village here very, very soon. I'll let you touch more on that.
Yeah, I was going to go there. We do feel excitement re-energizing the village here, which has been our goal for 2 years of hard work, almost 2 years, coming up in, a month or so. The Vibrant Village is showing signs of it, what we're looking for. If you read between the lines of these reports Jay does, the dollars for building permits and so forth, it includes, I think we counted 5 new businesses that are actually coming here, and some are substantial, and some will. One for sure is retail, which will be awesome for the village. I think it's not just the food world, but the retail base, and the people coming into that business seem to have high energy, and it'll be really good for the village. And between the lines there, those numbers can be boring, but there is exciting news there. Like Jay mentioned on the backflow preventers, that does only really affect what we would consider our commercial occupancies, and we're fine-tuning the list. We have crafted an explanation letter and what the state law says and what we need to do to get current with that. We don't have that ready to go out today, but we wanted to give everybody a heads up in Panda and the press that that's coming, but it's not every occupancy, meaning it's generally the commercial occupancies, and then within that certain types of occupancies. So it's the whole goal is to keep dirty, gross water from backflowing into the clean main water supply, and that's what a backflow preventer does. So we'll be updating our records on that. And we've been toying around. We won't do anything tonight, but I was talking to some board members individually. It's coming up on spring, like we said in the start of the meeting, and it'd be fun to create some sort of a contest in the village. The resident who does the nicest amount of work, yard work, little sprucing up, something that just takes the street facade up a notch. We're not talking about spending tens of thousands of dollars, but we're thinking of something where some work and some time on a weekend or whatever, and then I'd like to see if we could create some sort of a prize or something where, like $100 to the restaurant of their choice within the village, something like that, if we could find a way to fund that from our community beautification line or from the mayor's contractual line, somewhere where we could find something like that. I think it'd be a fun project, and we could tweak that at a workshop and get it live. Because there are some houses that have done great work in the past, and I thought it'd be nice to recognize them. And then B, there are some houses that need great work to be done, and we'd like to get them to do it.
Stop looking at my purple house. I gotta talk about that.
That's a matter of taste. But, let's see. Anyway, let's see. Speaking of purple houses, let's go to Jen Norris's section there.
Okay. Garbage. For the month of February, we paid out $973.96, and collected $2,673 worth of garbage tax sales. We had 5.69 tons of single stream recycling and 9.06 tons of garbage. Due to illness, I don't have library numbers for the month of February. I'll include that when I get it. They do continue to have programs basically every day for all ages, from learning Italian to learning how to knit to story times and everything in between. We're kind of in the lull of events. There was the Winter Shorts Film Festival last month, which I wasn't able to go to, but apparently over 300 people did, and I heard it was a fabulous, fabulous event. This was a showing of short student films with a question and answer period afterwards. I don't know, did anyone here go?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. and if we could just interrupt you for a moment.
Yeah.
It was one of our local business people, Robert George. He's a design build consultant here right in the village. And he put a huge amount of time, energy, and money into it. And unfortunately, in this day and age, media and money is what you need to promote events. And he did it all. And the presentation was great, too. He hired an actual staging company who did the screen and the sound, and they retweaked the firehouse. You really thought you were in the theater, but the floor was flat instead of pitched a little bit. And yeah, people did that, and then they offered and headed folks over to the Red Hook Can Gallery, which is awesome. They had a show there, and nice hors d'oeuvres and things. It was Red Hook was happening that night, and he wants to do more next year. He says he's thinking of already next year.
Yeah, and he said, because I have a small child, and I asked if it was appropriate for small children. He said no, but that next year they were thinking of having it be for younger ones as well. So I'm totally excited that they're looking for that. So we have a whole bunch of stuff coming up, and save the dates. The Red Hook High School will present a chorus line March 14th through 17th. Please be aware that this play addresses mature themes and may not be suitable for younger children. For tickets, you can contact the high school or go on the Red Hook Central School District website for tickets. The Mill Road Intermediate School will present A Midsummer Night's Dream featuring kids from grades 3 through 5. That will be April 20th and 27th at 11 a.m. They do that at the Rhinebeck Performing Arts Center, and tickets are available for that directly from the Rhinebeck Performing Arts Center. That's March. April 13th and 14th is the Red Hook Literary Festival. I don't have the full details on that, other than it's going to they did it last year, and it was an incredible event, and I think this year is even going to be more so, with readings from local authors and local actors and performers. So next month I'll have the full details on that. April 20th is going to be the annual Spring Cleanup Day, with the rain date April 21st. Apple Blossom Day will be May 11th. The annual Bike Tour to Red Hook will be Sunday, May 19th, with no rain date for that one. Again, all these are forthcoming, and I'll have more details as I get them. We will be having a Hardscrabble Committee meeting April 11th in this building at 7 o'clock, in case anyone is interested in joining our committee. We do not just Hardscrabble Day, but other events throughout the year, and we'd love to get some new blood and some new ideas. So April 11th, 7 p.m.
Maybe we could entice the film project person there. We did that one summer movie last year, I don't know if you remember it, but it was...
the very, very cold Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It was a cold evening, but I guess even in the summer it can get cold in the evening. But I was thinking it'd be fun if this guy wanted to do some summer films. We could get him to roll through some of that.
Yeah, anything. I'd love as many events as we can do.
But I told one of our town farmers I'd promote something for him. So if you know Richie Brzezinski from Northwind Farms, people know him out there. It's up on Tivoli, Curly Corners Road. He works at our farmers market and helped get it going last summer. And I tease him, he's a hardworking farmer, but he's sponsoring Daylily Day. It's where they want, the orange flowers that grow on the side of the road in wild bunches. He wants to get them from Curly Corners Road, one end to the other. So we tease him, he's working on his feminine side. He's working on, instead of making hay and raising pigs, he's going to be helping us plant, not us, but he wants to plant flowers, and it's open to the public. He says go to his Facebook page. He's a high-tech farmer with a Facebook page, so the dates and times are there, but it's essentially in May, and it's midday, and he'll have free Northwind Farm hot dogs, and sounds like it'll be a fun day. So put that on your calendar and start to work, but go to his Facebook page and look it up. And other than that, that's the events and the garbage. Well, let's go back to garbage for a minute.
Yes.
Jen is very eco-conscious. She puts her reports on, her garbage is on the backside of her events report. But did you say the tag sales were $26.73? Is that?
Yep.
And is that all in, all done? Like that's all the records?
I'm sorry, but yes.
Yeah, because that's quite a drop. It had been averaging $3,700 a month.
Don't forget, we are probably seeing the giveaway. Not as many. People stocked up.
Yeah, people stocked up. It's a shorter month as well. I wasn't terribly alarmed. Next month will be
well, you'll hear
more interesting figures, because we will have you know, if it was a 10 promotion, so that would be December, that would last you about 2 months, you'd probably have to start buying in March. So it'll be, the next month's figures for.
And you'll hear in the regular business, we have an idea that could help promote garbage as well. So, that's good. Thank you, Jen. Let's see. Looks like we'll move to trustee, or deputy mayor rather, Brent Kowalczyk.
It said, I'll start with the Village Green Committee. The current balances of the Village Green Committee's related budget counts are as follows. Community beautification, we have a balance of $2,273.38. Shade tree contractual, we have a negative balance of $6,035.78. Again, we're expecting a $10,000 memorandum grant to bring that back up, hopefully before the end of the fiscal year. Village Green Committee checking account at $2,483.16. There was a Village Green Committee meeting held on February 6th at the Red Hook Village Building, and we discussed the Tree City USA application for certification. We did get certified for 2012, and actually we're trying to set up a time to go pick this up and all, and usually Brenda goes up with us. So that any Village Green members interested in attending the recognition ceremony, they'll be honoring 110 recognized communities, utilities, and campuses receiving the Tree City US designation up in Albany, and you can contact either Brenda or myself or arrange for that. We're just discussing next year's projects that we're considering. Some of these things would be landscape design proposals for Veterans Park, a garden proposal for the north side of the municipal parking lot, and perhaps a garden proposal and landscape design for the Red Hook Post Office. Spring planting is coming up. April 27th is our tentative date, our annual spring tree planting event. We're trying to attract volunteers, more younger volunteers, hopefully, from the Red Hook Interact Club and Camp Ramapo. We reviewed and approved the donor acknowledgement plaques for the recently installed benches. Mock-ups provided by the Hudson Valley Mobile Graphics and locations were discussed, and we also discussed in memory of and in honor of plaques to be offered to groups or individuals considering adopting a bench in memory or in honor of a family member, friend, or civic organization. 4 bench donor acknowledgement plaques were ordered on February 20th. The donors included the Red Hook Area Chamber of Commerce, the Red Hook Rotary Club, and the Kearney Realty and Development Group. These plaques will be cast and installed on the designated benches that they help purchase. The cost of these plaques will be deducted from the shade tree contractual. This is part of our 2007-2008 DEC Urban and Community Forestry Grant reimbursement. The village received a letter from the New York State DEC Division of Lands and Forests of February 13th, announcing that we did in fact receive the designation that the Village of Red Hook is a Tree City USA community. This is the 11th year that the village has received this designation. And on February 21st, the village board officially appointed David Pearson as a member of the Village Green Committee. David will fill the vacated position of Sally Dwyer McNulty, who resigned on January 15th. So we welcome David, and he's been involved in the past helping us with the tree planting stuff, and he's a good person to have on board. I think he's also being tapped for the planning board as well.
And
The zoning
revisions
revisions.
committee, yeah. Gonna work him to death. here.
Right.
A new volunteer. The Village of Red Hook Highway Department monthly report. Residents are reminded to remove basketball, hoops, sports, and other equipment from the sides of village streets to allow for snow plowing. The village will not be responsible for damaged equipment remaining on the sides of streets during snow plowing season. Hopefully this will be the last month I'll need this. The village's snow ordinance is in effect from November 1st through March 31st. No parking will be allowed. It actually will be the last month I'll read this. No parking will be allowed on village streets from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. during this period. Vehicles parked on village streets may be towed before, during, and after a snowstorm to facilitate snow and ice removal at the vehicle owner's expense. And Westside Auto, located here in Red Hook, was awarded the contract to provide towing services. So if your car is towed, there will be a charge. You'll be asked to pay for towing. It's $75 per vehicle. Storage is $25 per day, and you can pick your vehicle up at Westside Auto from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. Property owners and/or occupants are required to remove snow and ice from adjoining sidewalks within 24 hours after a snowstorm, and this is in accordance with local law 165-1. If in the event that they are not shoveled or cleared of ice and snow, the village highway department will remove the snow at a cost of $2 per linear foot, and this cost will be assessed and collected with the next tax levy. Again, this is based on a local law. And Dan and I put a schedule together. We implemented this last year, but this is a 3-year rotation schedule to clean our catch basins and culverts. And so every 3 years we have a section of the village that we'll be doing and continue to do this. And we separated a specific budget line to make sure it goes in perpetuity as long as possible. So this year's project list includes Old Post Road, Park Avenue, Church Street Extension, Mile Drive, Cherry Street, Grave Street, Tower Road, East Market Street, and West Market Street. So there's a list, and this will be in our monthly report and posted on our minutes, so you can see what schedule it is and what your section of the village will be, the catch basins will be cleaned. And then no scrap metal was sold during the month of February. Total revenue generated to date for fiscal year 2012-13 is $1,246.34. Since the inception of the scrap metal recycling program in September of 2007, $13,105.73 has been generated. The proceeds from this program go toward purchasing tools and equipment for the Red Hook Village Highway Department. Any resident or business interested in donating scrap metal can contact Dan at the Highway Department at 758-8600 or the village clerk at 758-1081, and the Highway Department will also assist property owners by picking up scrap metal upon request. Projects to be funded by this year's 2013-2014 New York State DOT allocation are being reviewed. The state has granted us the same amount of money we did last year, $31,364, and these projects are on a 10-year track, so we have to pick a project that will have a life expectancy of at least 10 years. So this year we're considering repaving and making pavement improvements to Garden Street and Firehouse Lane.
Hey Brent, I have a thought. I don't know what you're going to do next, but could you head for the Red Oak Water Project infrastructure pages?
That's next.
Okay, we have Robert here, and he probably needs to get out of here. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
This will be the Intermunicipal Task Force on Red Hook Infrastructure, the Red Hook Water Project. Trinity Construction began site work to improve the village's existing wells on February 4th. All existing pumps and casings are being removed, inspected, and improved as necessary to maximize pumping and source capacity. Engineers from CT Mail are on site during this process, and monthly inspections are performed by the USDA Rural Development. The date as mentioned in the water report, wells 1, 3, 4, and 9 have been rehabilitated. Wells 13 and 14 are scheduled to be completed in March, I believe, right, March. A meeting was held on February 6, 2013 at the Red Hook Village Building to review payment requests, job status, and to perform a site inspection at the village well fields. Representatives from Trinity Construction, USDA, CT Mail, Ed and myself attended this meeting. Approval confirmation of the minority and women business enterprise requirements for the New York State EOC are forthcoming for national metering, so hopefully we'll get that there's some paperwork we have to kind of finalize before we get going. So that's my report on the water project.
Yeah, if we could just break you off there for a moment. We have in the audience one of the lead engineers from CT Mail on this project, and we have a question issue. In the Wellfield site, we want to mark and map the buried water lines and the buried power cables that run from wells to well houses and so forth. We need to do it so the next phase of the project can go. Robert had prepared a letter. I was talking.
Make 6 copies of
Yeah,
it.
I'll take one, and yeah, we could look at this. Let's see. What we're getting at is the well fields are across a several acre parcel over there, and the lines come back to the pumping headquarters, pumping station. And part of this project is we're going to be adding well monitoring and different high-tech sensors in the actual wells. So you have to run lines out to the well, back to the central station. And we don't want to be digging and breaking our own water lines or our own power lines. And we don't feel we have an adequate map of that at this point in time. There are some general maps, but nothing's been marked in the before you dig level of it all. So Rob, do you want to take it from there and talk a little bit? Or you want me to keep going with this letter?
Let me just kind of summarize too. So the information that's on our plans that went out to bid is based on what we know. However, what we know isn't based on as-built or record drawings. It's kind of based on people's memory and whatnot. So there's a lot of unknowns out there in the ground. So we received quotes from qualified companies that locate underground power lines, underground water lines. And so that's why I came up with a quote that I'm recommending for the village to consider. So this would avoid, as a benefit of the construction project, to avoid damaging anything that's in the ground. And the long-term benefit is that we'll be able to map what's out there in the as Ed pointed out, it's a multi-acre lot, and some of the wells are more than 1,000 feet away from the building. So we'll have we'll know what's in the ground for construction, and in the future, we'll be able to capture that in our map as built.
Because what we're doing is trenching to bring the new sensor lines into the central station. And one thought is, theoretically, the water lines themselves would be below frost line, so they should be deep enough, but that's a good conjecture, but we'd hate to be the ones breaking our own water line. And then B, we're not sure how deep the power lines are and so forth.
Right, so the power would be at the same elevation as our signal wires.
Yeah. So, and in the end, in the project, there is contingency money set aside for things like this, and it's significant money. What Robert's suggesting is we'll get twofold. We'll be safely digging, and then we'll have a map in the end that we can keep. And that is one of our goals with the whole water project, is to codify and make really good records and systems that other generations can see and know what's out in the ground there. So the company that they're suggesting we use is Premier Utility Services. What I thought we'd do, since it does involve money and it does involve going to the contingency, and it is time sensitive, I'd like to move on it tonight, meaning we want to keep the project going forward. And if you guys have a chance, just arose today as far as getting the details. It's a $4,800 lump sum payment to locate the water and the electrical equipment.
This goes out of contingency.
Right.
That would be our decision, but that's what I would recommend. It's, rather than anything else.
It would be processed as a change order to the contractor, Trinity's contract.
And
So when can they start, and how long does this process take?
They feel it'll take them 2 days
Okay.
to locate all the lines, and they're probably get a week's notice.
Okay.
As they locate the lines now. Usually they just locate. No way can they tell the depth of the lines?
Their proposal is to bring ground penetrating radar, so they can
Okay.
determine the depth.
Oh, that's good.
A little high tech.
and can they start pretty quickly? I was just looking at the letter. Talks travel time, if acceptable. They would do a standard agreement and waiver. So that would be an agreement between the contractor, Trinity, not us.
That's the way I propose it.
Yeah.
It works a lot
Right.
easier.
Mhm.
It's the contractor directing the subconsultant.
So this will appear on the invoices then when we submit DFC and RD at the end.
But, right, we would process a change order at Trinity. Yeah.
Well, I'll put it on as a motion and we can continue discussion. But I'd like to make a motion that the water system upgrade project be modified to include services by Premier Utility Services to mark out and locate underground both water and power lines so that the project can continue safely without disruption of our water or injury to our power supplies or personnel working in the equipment. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
And any other discussion? Hearing none, we take a vote. All in favor? Okay.
The other part, of course, we have application number 2 from Trinity. I don't know if we have information on that.
Could you say it again? I didn't follow you.
Application number 2 for Trinity.
For the payment?
Yep.
Yeah.
That we're looking to process.
So the vouchers you need signed.
Yeah, so I don't, yeah.
One for 86,000?
Yeah, you want to have a discussion on that. But basically, it's a progress payment, and it's payment number 2 for Trinity, which is one of the prime contractors, and it includes, this particular pay application includes the work for the rehabilitating of 5 of the 7 wells. So Cindy, what's the dollar value?
86,450.
Right.
What we're thinking is to keep the payment schedule going, what we have is Wednesday, the USDA rep comes back, and we try to sequence it out so that all the players are here, because USDA has to review and sign off on things. So if we can pass this down our table tonight, you can look it over. It's a standard voucher for us, but then, and it's self-explanatory in the packet. We don't really need a motion on it. It's
6 copies of those, right?
Yeah, I think I said there's 6 in there. It looks thick enough for 6. So you have to sign 6 different ones. The USDA takes 3, the engineer takes 1, we get 1, and then our people will put it into the system. And like we said, this is all through the project grant. So and then I'll pass, but we don't need a vote on this. This is just to get everybody going on it. So you can look that over. And then I just a technical question. When Steve gave his report and we talked about the wells that have been reconditioned, it mentioned the 100% increase. What was the terminology there? It's on.
Well, the specific capacity is a term that we use for measuring how much water comes into a well. And the wells are very in depth. Some are up to 300 feet deep. Some are only 50 feet deep. So you measure how much water comes in per foot of well. And we measure it beforehand and after we clean them. And so that's what we're saying. We're saying a bounce back, basically doubling the before the cleaning.
And then once the flow meters and all the equipment's attached, I guess we're going to monitor for 60 days. And if we feel that, the water levels can sustain when pumped, we can think about if we want to increase the size of the pumps to draw more water out. So we seem to be fairly confident that our supply is going to be in pretty good shape
Right.
rather than finding another well to drill.
Yeah, so we're looking in pretty good shape there. And there's been some minor repairs along the way when we're doing this. As Ed mentioned earlier, we're pulling each pump out, writing them pump information, motor information, and then if there's some pieces of pipe that are rusted out, we're replacing those and that kind of thing, so that we're avoiding future breakdowns doing that.
And when does the new generator get on site?
The current schedule has it towards the end of March, arriving on site. Of course, it has to be wired in and all that. So I don't think it would be an operational in a month from now, but
It'll be here.
it'll be here.
That's interesting, because I think last month we talked about that too. For the past 18 months, we've been renting generators when we get a prediction of a heavy storm, just in case we lose power, because we don't have enough storage capacity in the elevated tank to last more than a day and a half. So we have to be able to pump water all the time, and maybe we need one more if this, I don't know what's blowing in Wednesday night, but hopefully it's not that bad. So
Might be the last one.
yeah. Well, thanks, Robert. The reason I interrupted Brent was Robert was here especially for the meeting, and anything else for Robert while he's here from the board?
No,
Are you done with what you needed?
Yep.
Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see. So we'll let you go back to work there, Brent.
Thanks.
Next one is the Red Hook Village Pattern Book and Architectural Guides. Progress to complete the final draft of the pattern book continues. The draft is being prepared for review by the Red Hook Village Trustees and for grant award reimbursement submissions to the Hudson River Valley Green Line. This is one of 4 grants that we've received for this particular project, and should be done in the next week, I would think. We're hoping to submit our reimbursement for the Greenway. Should be a $10,000 reimbursement, which is good for us. Intermunicipal Task Force met on February 1st, 8th, 15th, and 22nd at the Red Hook Town Hall. The task force is currently reviewing and proposing amendments to existing zoning regulations for properties located within the National Historic Landmarks District, Land Conservation District, Institutional District, and RD5 District. Demolition regulations of historic structures and amenities, build-out provisions, permitted uses, historic resource survey, environmental overlay map, scenic view sheds, bulk regs, and a proposed establishment of a historical architectural review committee are being reviewed and discussed. Recommendations are being prepared for consideration by the Red Hook Town Board and for the consideration of the villages of Red Hook. On February 1st, representatives from Rudy's Automotive and Max Agway met with the task force to discuss proposals for the possibility of new commercial establishments in the Red Hook Town Traditional Neighborhood District, Commercial Sub-District, and the Red Hook Village Neighborhood Mixed-Use District. Red Hook Town Economic Development Committee, both Ed and I are invited guests on this. The EDC met on February 14th and 28th at the Red Hook Village Building, and we discussed the business survey. The results of the EDC business survey are being tabulated now, and we also distributed hard copies to businesses in the villages of Red Hook and Tivoli and throughout the town. And we've gotten some surveys back that are pretty honest about what they're saying, what they're looking for as far as what the local governments can offer, and what the business community in general can offer to each other. As been mentioned before, 5 new businesses are preparing to open soon in the village of Red Hook, and I believe there's 3 retail establishments and 2 food establishments. And ideas and proposals are being reviewed for consideration during 2013, which includes branding Red Hook, emphasizing and promoting the arts and agricultural programs. We've also talked about some ideas for beautification of the village of Red Hook, the Four Corner General Business District. Community Preservation Fund and Farmland Protection Advisory Committee, there were no committee meetings held during the month of February. The Red Hook Town Zoning Review Committee, I'm a member of that. Also no meetings held during the month of February. The Red Hook Town and Village Shared Service Committee, both Ed and I sit in that as representatives and members. A Shared Service Committee meeting, 2 of them were held in February, one on the 7th and 21st. Supervisor Crane, Mayor Brian Crana from Tivoli, and the Tivoli Clerk Linda Ganella, plus Red Hook Town Highway Superintendent Teresa Burke and myself attended these meetings, and we discussed we reviewed the lease versus purchase option of new highway equipment. We reviewed an obligated group concept to provide better bond rating for capital projects and equipment. This is something I believe that Northern Massachusetts Hospital and the related hospitals are looking at as far as banding together to get a better bond rating. Preliminary preparation and outline for the 2013-2014 New York State Department of State Local Government Efficiency Grant, which I think is on the docket for future discussion here. So we're looking at preliminary applications right now. The application is due in March 13th, and a village resolution agreeing to the application is due by the 12th, and they would like to have it collected by the 10th.
12th of April, you're talking about?
April, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, is when the resolution is done. The application is due in on March 13th. And we're also looking at preparing another grant. This is the 2013 Dutchess County Consolidation and Shared Services Grant for funding to produce a study on shared highway services between the town of Red Hook, Village of Red Hook, and the village of Tivoli. And and that deadline for application is June 28th, so we're looking at both grants right now. And we also discussed shared resource recovery services between the Village of Tivoli and Red Hook. And then on February 7th, the Northern Dutchess Alliance held its annual breakfast meeting at the Beekman Arms in Rhinebeck. Ed and I both attended that, and we were presented with the discussion of the possibilities for shared services in Northern Dutchess by Dr. Gerald Benjamin, who's the director of the Center for Research, Regional Education and Outreach of New Paltz. This is pretty good, and we do have I guess it's online, I don't know if it's on our website or not, but the report talked about shared services for health insurance, assessments, and transportation. Red Hook Together, both Ed and I are members of that. There was a meeting on February 28th at the Red Hook Library. A lot of stuff going on. Jen touched on some of them. I won't go through all of them, but I'll start with the Boy Scouts. They're having a fundraiser at Applebee's in Kingston on March 7th. Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County made a presentation. We're currently now in Poughkeepsie and looking to do some projects in Northern Dutchess. We're also looking for volunteers and people interested in donating properties for some of their projects. Red Hook Can, the Winter Shorts Festival, Jen mentioned, there's an upcoming gallery show, the Surrealist and Conceptual Art Show. I believe that opens on Saturday. And there is currently a call for artists to participate in the Red Hook Can Sculpture Expo 2013. This will be a juried sculpture exhibition in the village of Red Hook, and they will be on view beginning June 15th through November 20th, if all goes well. Deadline for artist submissions is April 23rd. We had a discussion with Bard College Urban Environmental Program, AmeriCorps Vista Volunteer Program, the proprietor of Living Eden, which is one of the 5 new businesses coming in. Bobby Joe Forte did a presentation on their business plan. Seems to be quite exciting for our new business here in the village. And the Bard College Center for Civic Engagement, they're currently working on the 2013 volunteer fair. So a lot of work going on in the town and 2 villages, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Let's see, I think we hit the department and committee reports. We didn't leave anybody out, did we?
Ed,
Jay.
one thing that I had neglected to mention, I'll be very brief. I had gotten a communication that Susan Israti, a trustee in the village of Tivoli, had been working toward getting planning and zoning educational credits for their planning and zoning members, and sometimes it's difficult to get everybody together to go to Millbrook or the various places. So a representative of Green Plan, Ted Fink, had been discussing with them the possibility of putting on a local program and getting their board to attend their planning and zoning boards. And I caught wind of this, and I asked her if it's a possibility that maybe our guys could be in attendance as well, and we would help to defray some of the costs. And it was supported by Susan as well as Brian Crana. So when Susan has more information, I will provide more to you on the progress on that. So.
And the important part of that is, just so everybody knows, the ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Planning Board folks have annual training requirements, and they have to prove that they've met the certifications each year. So what this is would be a local, close to home way to get something good for anybody that wants that on those boards. Let's see, let's move to regular business. We did the court grant with the judge. Number 2, LGEG grant, acronym talk, local government efficiency grant. This is in conjunction with what Brent read and the deadlines that Brent mentioned. What we're looking at is when the highway garage was built, we all tried to fund the grant about a year ago using the Crawford and Associates firm to write the grant to the Department of State. The model being, okay, we know the village taxpayer pays toward the highway garage, but is there a next best step? Do we have merger of equipment, merger of manpower, merger of management. What do we do? And we feel that you can't make that decision unless you study it somewhat, somehow. And there is an accounting way and a management way to look at things. So we want to reapply, and the work is underway. Like Brent reported, Tivoli and Town and myself have sat with the elected leaders, and the grant folks, it would again be Crawford and Company, and probably out of fairness, Jay would have to abstain from votes on this, but
Absolutely.
he's, just so you know, Jay is employed by Crawford and Associates. But what we're looking at is, there is a actual project being developed. The plan is to seek a grant of $75,000, which would be $25,000 for each municipality, and there is a 10% share for the municipality to put up front. So our exposure would be $2,500, as with Tivoli's, as with the towns.
If in fact that's the maximum we can have. Last year, I think we asked for around 31.5.
Yeah. So right now, the grant itself is still in the formative, meaning it's not quite fully written, and we have draft resolutions. We're not, if you remember the deadlines he read, we don't have to do it tonight. I'm thinking, I would just like to introduce it, that we think about it and let the folks know we're working on it. We'd probably want to see what the final numbers are, what the final project is designed out to be. We have input in that, and then we would vote between now and that. I don't want to do it on April 8th. We'll go to that in a minute. We're going to be moving our April meeting to April 8th, but that's a busy meeting with reorg and budget and things.
Let's do April
So
10th.
we'll probably do, well, I'm thinking we'll do it at a workshop beforehand. So we just make the deadlines okay.
So I should be getting the draft application on the 6th. We have a shared services meeting, so that would be an interesting thing about this study, which we wanted to actually look at. We've been looking at the Creo report and from the Northern Dutchess Alliance and some various other reports, but there's quite a bit of difference between a town highway department and a village highway department, so we definitely want to study and look at all the ramifications that were involved. So this is for shared services, but the goal is if it pans out for consolidation, but right now is just sharing services and see where we could all save money at this point.
Yeah, so like I said, I just wanted to reintroduce it to the board, and we won't vote tonight on anything until we get a little more formed up documentation. And then, as we're talking about shared services today, I reached back to the county level folks at the risk management department for the county and sent them our payroll roster, the types of folks and departments we operate, and the gross salary, because they use that in the rating. And our hope is to get into the county pool and save some workers' comp premium on our side. So we'll hear shortly. I advised them of our budget cycle and so forth, so they're cooperating, and we should hear something soon, which would be nice.
Any idea of the level of savings we could experience if we were fortunate
Well,
enough?
They told me at one point 40%, which is huge, because we're about, between the fire company and our staff, we pay a touch over 100 grand in workers' comp, so that'd be nice if that came to fruition. I'm not sure what they do is they requested what they call loss runs. That's our loss history in the workers' comp field. And then they look at your payroll, see how many folks they're bringing in. It's actually underwriting, like when you shop your homeowner and auto account. Sometimes if you're a bad driver, people don't want to insure you, or they'll charge you more. The rate is based on what our experience is. But they seem optimistic. We don't have anything definitive, but it'd be nice. And I told them, the county talks big time about shared services, and the county executive happens to live in the village, so we would like full attention and put, walk the walk, talk the talk kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. Maybe Brent and I can jump on this one. Next item, number 3, brush collection. It ties into everything here. What we've got is, with our well system upgrade, one question the village faces is, do we have enough water in the ground and enough wells to pull from where we are now, and do we need more wells? And one option we had touched with everybody before is over at our brush pile on 199 East. There are 2 old abandoned wells, and we have a block grant to recondition and be able to use them. But part of that goes to the issue then, now it's used as a brush pile, which is sort of a clean debris pile, but we've had some folks walk around looking at composting options and so forth. But like Brent mentioned before, a village does have a different task than a town. We do have residents who need to get rid of brush. They don't have the back 40 to go and stack it up in or burn it in or whatever. So we came up with an idea which I think is interesting. Right now we pay an attendant in the summer months to sit there on Saturday for security and just make sure the folks coming in have the proper village permits to drop brush. We're looking at an option on garbage Mondays to do, we have the men and the trailers all hooked up, and we have a site where we can contract to bring the brush to a private ownership site, and we wouldn't need to pay a brush pile attendant anymore. And then I think would actually benefit the village resident, because many of us don't have pickup trucks and different things that you need to get small packs or stacks of brush out. And if we do it more frequently, what we're thinking is every other Monday, as far as it would be smaller stacks and less time needed if we do it more frequently. And I think we'd be saving money and promoting more service, which is an awesome thing to do in this era. So
I think we're looking at right now a tentative schedule, the first and third Mondays. And again, what Ed was saying, that we have the part-time people helping us out with the garbage in the mornings for half a day, and then they usually stay on for the rest of the day. But the idea is that we'll pick up the first and third Mondays of every month brush that's left on the side of the road. And we're actually looking at a reduced cost from what we currently allocate for the brush pile, but still offering more services. So we'll give it a shot and see what happens. And I think it's a good program.
yeah, we could talk about it more. What I was thinking when Jen was doing her report, it'll help promote, I think, to the presence of the village highway department. And it's essentially the same process as the garbage tied with the same day, so it might make people think, hey, I'm quasi-composting. We have to promote that pay-as-you-throw program as best we can. And we're not going to charge. Before, to go to the brush pile, it was $15 a season.
20.
Say 15, 20. And it was, not everybody bought into it, and we did have a budget line as a revenue line, so we'll kill that revenue line, but it was, if I recall, only $1,500 in the revenue line there. And we were paying an attendant about $2,000 a year to sit there. So that's a good savings. And we used to tub grind every 2 years, which was a huge expense, $10,000 every 2 years, so averaged $5,000 a year. So we'd be dropping that right away. And that'd be awesome. And I think we'll end up with smaller scale things too. Sometimes I always used to wonder how these monstrous items get in the brush pile out there.
I
So-
see tree stumps and things.
Yeah, so we will have the highway folks better secure that gate entry system and just make sure nothing happens there.
And the goal is too that we offer brush and leaf pickup twice annually, once in the spring and once in the fall. And the goal, at least for the fall pickup, is that we minimize the pickup starting in the spring and going to the fall. But since people would be able to put them out on a regular basis, at the end, we usually spend 6 weeks picking up leaf and brush in the fall. And hopefully we'll reduce that pile down, so actually save time and
Yeah.
labor.
Seems like it should to me, because what people do is stack it up in there wherever they can, and they drag it out in the spring and then drag out the summer's pile in the fall. This way it'd be smaller, multiple piles.
And this is open to everybody, not just people who buy
Right.
garbage
Correct.
tags? This
Yeah,
is
if
just-
you're a village resident. And yeah, I was toying with that. Should we sell a brush tag? But
Okay.
it'd be too hard to monitor too.
Well, I
think.
just didn't know, because like, if you just put out recycling, they don't pick up recycling. You
No, it's a
have
good
to have the
question.
garbage
Yeah,
tags. so.
because I did think of that too, and to offset that $1,500 drop. But when you look at the savings we make, the $1,500 can go away and we don't feel it.
Right.
So, but what we'd probably do is in our March newsletter announce it, and people hear it now today, but we'll announce the actual start date, and the highway folks can get ready. And what we'd be doing, I guess we just do a motion to modify our brush. I'll craft the wording. Instead of using the current Route 199 East brush pile, we'll switch to every other week brush pickup system starting April, May timeline. When we feel like it's ready, we'll announce it in a newsletter. It'll be open to all village residents, and it will still, we don't want monstrous, we don't want people taking down a tree. This is, I guess,
We still
not an
have a
emotion, but
limitation on
it's
our
a,
pile, so
pardon me?
we still have a limitation on the
Yeah,
size of the pile, so.
our concept was the 6 by 6 by 6, but we would also want to expect that it's just your brush. We don't want you bringing in, importing brush from anywhere, because I'm envisioning much smaller piles if we do it this way.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at, so, and then what would take a half a day?
So I think I'm mixing emotion with discussion, but motion would be that we shut down the brush landfill site on Route 109 East effective late March, and then convene every other week pickup system through the fall, and to match the spring and fall endpoints of the current large brush pickup system, and be no charge to village residents, and no special permit needed. Is there a second? Any other discussion?
Yeah. Where is the brush going?
It's a private site.
Yeah, we're going to do
Private
it.
site within the town?
Yeah, what we could do with that, let's put an amendment. What we're looking at is, we have a bid from the Vosburg Farm for $1,500 per year, and they'll take it and chip it. So, and it's just got to be brush, it can't be garbage or anything like that. No construction material, it's just brush.
Right.
And our guys will have their clearance refusal rights at the curbside, but good question. So that's where we'll go.
And there'll be no, like if a resident comes up and says, well, I got a pickup truck and I want, it has to be hauled by the village.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
it's private, so there's no public access.
Okay.
Good discussion. Anything else?
And we'd also put our leaf and brush there too, so, we usually, during the spring and fall pickup, that's the landfill, the brush pile that we currently have, that's where we put our deposit, our refuse, but this will be used, not only for the every other week pickup, but also for the major spring and fall pickups. So it's a good facility, it's a good opportunity at a lower rate, overall for every village resident, so it's a good program. We'll see
Shake it
how
out.
good it is, whether it's going.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. Let's see, next, farmer's market. We spoke in workshop, and what we'd like to do is, the farmers that were here last summer would like to come back. The consensus in our group was that having them in the back of the lot was good, but they would do better if they had more street visibility. And in one of our workshops, we talked about that pretty much. It seemed like we were in agreement. They have filed to come before the planning board. Again, they need a site plan revision to take their sketch from the back of the lot to the front of the lot, and they'll be on the agenda for that. I reached out to KeyBank. They're revising the lease licensing agreement for another year. They're not so concerned where they are, it's just that they're in the lot. And then I reached out to one of the business owners, Ken Geek, who gave that safety overflow parking option, and he's fine with it. He gave a letter of support, addressed it to the planning board already. What I thought we would do as a board is craft a letter just indicating that we feel, for the betterment of the village and the farm community, that having another farmer's market this summer would be in everybody's interest, residents, businesses, tourists, and so forth. So I'd like to send the board a letter and just say that we encourage another farmer's market this summer, and that we would like them to have the prerogative to come to the front of the lot, and we can work out parking and whatever details, but that would be at the direction of the planning board. Is there, I think I make a motion that we, as a board, send a letter of support to the planning board, and they can consider, it's March 14th is when they go to their meeting, and they need that time then to set up their vendors and see who they're renting to. So I'd make a motion that this board support the incubation of the farmer's market by allowing it to move to the front of the lot, and let the planning board make the final decisions and so forth, but we would indicate that we still support a farmer's market in the village. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? I guess just from my level, one thing, we have heard the Elmendorf is talking about something, but we've looked at it and they're not committing to the market folks that we worked with last summer at this point. And we feel timeline-wise, these vendors need to know where they're going to be. If there was a better spot or a better business location, I think we'd be amenable, but right now they need to know where they're going to be, and I think in the center of the village does help a little more than on the north fringe. And this season with CVS and different things possibly happening up there, it might not be the best site for outdoor marketing anyway, so.
So
we
you're
would-
saying they want to change from being the winter market to the year-round market?
Yeah, there's some intention up there to keep going year-round, and it raises their own questions with site plan and different things that are outside our purview. But it also, like I keep saying, these farmers need a commitment where they're going to be, and if they're held up too much longer, they'll move off somewhere else, and we'll lose the
That was not
benefit.
their initial intent, to run year-round, was it?
No, it was always the winter market, yeah. And so it's a little interesting wrinkle, but I think if we move forward.
I mean, have they been encouraged to try and work together on this? And, because I don't see, and I think you probably agree, that two markets at the same time is a viable, option, right?
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, we've had sit-down meetings with the manager of the Village Market and the Elmendorf folks. There's some reticence, in my opinion, on the part of the Elmendorf folks, and I'm not sure what it is exactly, but we have sat on several occasions, and I've told everybody I agree with you 100%. There's not room for two markets. It's clear two can't survive, but and I've indicated my preference would be for the Elmendorf folks to lend their support and credibility to the Village Central one, and then once the winter season comes back, it goes back there. So it would be
You don't get any sense that there's movement there, or, I don't know.
There's no movement as of Saturday, so, and I think we have our meeting tonight and the March 14th Planning Board meeting, so timeline-wise, I think that's why I'm suggesting we do this. And in the end, it is a free market. The vendors can go where they want, but I don't want to have it fail because they had nowhere to go. And, but anyway, so we would craft a letter, and Jay had done some work crafting it. It's essentially, we're saying we support the tradition of agriculture and the products available locally, and the fact that the market helps the village central business area. And it's one day a week, Saturdays from 10 to 2, same thing. Nothing's changing that way. But I'd like to release the letter. I think we had a discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And some nitty-gritty budget public hearing things. Like we said earlier, we've been in workshop and budget modes, looking at a lot of numbers. There is a formal timeline involved, and what we're shooting for, it has to be all in and all done by May 1st of the year. And we have to have public hearings, and what we'd like to do is, in the April meeting, we normally call out our reorganizational meeting. So like we said earlier, it's a busy meeting, but we'd also like to have the budget public hearing at 7 p.m. before that April 8th meeting. And I just say before the April 8th, for good or for bad, the first Monday of the month in April is April 1st, which is not that far from today. And I don't know that we want to do a heavy meeting on April 1st. Catch being, we need a little more time to prepare. And it's always tough for us in general when the first day of the month is a Monday. It's just monthly reports and things aren't really coming off the systems on Friday. So it's better to hold off. And I think we talked about that individually amongst ourselves, but we need to notice to the public, which Cindy will do. But the thought is put the budget public hearing on the 8th at 7. And then right now, with the current models we're running, we've got, it looks like the budget increase is around 4.5%, but we're not done at this point. We don't know the workers' comp net reduction if that happens, which would be awesome. That would take us to about 0%. And we don't know the full final health insurance premium. We are meeting this week with our regular insurance folks. But what that sets up to is we'll lay on your desks, but to do the 2% cap override again, we need to have that as a public hearing and be part of the same night of the budget. So
7:15.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where budget is, how that affects whether we need cap override, but we need to line them both up regardless. And so we don't need a vote on that. Well, is everybody okay with the April 8th? I mean, seemed fine. And
Yeah.
so I guess I'll take a motion on that. I move that we move the normal monthly April meeting instead of April 1st to April 8th with a public hearing on budget at 7 and potential cap override at 7:15. And we'll give more time if we need it. But, so, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So voted. We did have an executive session on contracts, but maybe before we do that, we could go to the floor. But I guess first, to the benefit of the board, any other business that we didn't touch upon that you'd like to bring up? And then, good. And let's go to public comment. Anybody out there? Mr. George?
I like the idea of the brush pickup, but how much does the village take in currently with the brush permit system that we had?
Well, the reason I'm smiling is when I look at the number of residents we have, and I look at that brush pile sometimes, I wonder where does the gross volume come from? It's in an unobserved location. Does something happen there that we're not aware of? Is a question I have. But I think that'll be part of the modeling. For instance, I know what I generate a year. I have the average number of trees in my yard. It's and we're not talking about taking.
What I mean is,
Yeah.
it must be a number that you collected last year for permits.
Dollar-wise, yeah, I don't.
$100, $1,000.
Yeah, we do know it.
It's about
Can
$400
you-
or $500.
Cindy, do you have the budget line there?
That would be exact.
We can give you an exact. It's.
We usually allocate about $2,000 for the brush pile. And with this one, it'd actually be about $500 less than that, so.
$640.
$640, so we're not breaking
I just
even.
want to know if there was a large amount of money that is not going to happen.
The idea was to balance the permit sale with the actual cost of running it. The cost basically is just to man it, the 4 hours during the Saturdays that it's open, and pay for whatever electricity or that they use. So we're actually looking at probably reducing the cost of what we're allocating.
And a question on you consolidating the villages and towns with maintenance and stuff like that.
No, we're
What are you
not.
talking about? You're looking at.
We're looking at a study first to see if there's a way we can share services to
Yeah,
reduce
you're
the
putting in a
cost.
grant to see if it's feasible.
Mm.
The question I have is, do both the village and the town, are they both union? Are they same unions?
We have 3 municipalities involved, the village of Tivoli, which is union, the village of Red Hook, which is union, and the town of Red Hook, which is non-union.
So that would have to be.
That's part of the study, as far as the labor force goes. We looked at different aspects of the labor pool. For the village, we do hire part-time people for garbage pickup. We put on part-time people to assist with the major 2 leaf and brush pickups during the year. One of the scenarios we would be looking at would be increased labor pool. So there are a bigger number of employees at the town than in the villages, so we could possibly use that. So that's all part of the study that we're looking at.
Right, so they would be non-union then at that point.
At that point, we don't know until we look at how that labor situation's set up.
I think that's gonna be a hot button.
It could be.
Yeah, no, it's, right now they've been working together for about 6 months, plus or minus, and there's been no issue. And I negotiate the contract with the union. We did a 2-year, it's coming actually, I gotta meet the guy in a week or two, it's coming up on 2 years, and the unions are good, but they get the economics too. They're not driving crazy,
Right
impossible
now,
bargains.
Both departments are sharing the garage right now, so, you have a union shop with the non-union shop, and they're working together right now.
Right, I'm just saying, at that point, if you would combine them in the future somewhere down the line, it would not be practical to have non-union, union, you'd have to go all non-union or union.
Mm.
which should be,
That's what we're hoping
Yeah, we'll
to find
study.
out from the study.
And that's part of the
is How do
study.
you get to that point, either one or the other?
So, one of the things we would be looking into is managerial aspects of it, so how it would, if the goal is consolidation, how would that be managed, and, what the model would be, and again, what I brought up in my monthly report about that, the village operations are a lot different than the town operations. We're a denser type of system, we're a grid, we're not a loop. So I don't think it's gonna be as simple as one might think, just as far as consolidating, but actually looking at what we do as far as services and what the other municipalities do. We're even different than the Village of Tivoli, because they have a DPW department. And we just have a highway department. So it'll be fun to see the results of the study. Like I said, we've gotten few studies in already from outside sources, and they're bringing up these differences right now, and it's just good things to look at in the totality of church services.
What happened to the old generator that was over to the well field there? It was in
Still
the building
there.
over there, it was a cat generator.
Yeah.
We got from the telephone company years ago. It had a 500-gallon tank, double lined, had a monitor on it for leakage.
Still there?
Yeah, it's still there. And about 3 years ago, it was looked at as an option, but it was, I forget the exact numbers and the effectiveness. It was just ruled out as an option.
Didn't Seymour?
It's yeah, they did a big project, and
Took the tank out basically, even as a
Yeah.
double line tank, because the oil tank in the midst of the oil field there. So that was one of the reasons. And I don't think the size was big enough to actually handle what we needed to handle, so.
yeah, because at one point we thought we might have a win there to reuse
There shouldn't
it.
be too much wiring to be done on the new one then, if the old one was wired in.
No, what they have now is for the temporary generators we would roll in, they have a port set up outside. But the old generator is over in the red building way across the parking lot.
That's
from,
right on Firehouse Lane there.
Yeah, it's like you gotta go through the parking lot over well number 3 and back to the white chlorination building, so it's, I would guess, almost 1,000 feet.
You can sell that or what?
Yeah, we'd probably scrap it. We came up, we actually, at one of our workshops, speaking of old equipment,
Sell it or scrap
pardon me?
it. Sell it or scrap it, which one?
Well, we haven't voted on that, but where I was headed is,
Right, good.
Dan brought up, there's a 50,000 gallon water storage tank that sits on its side back behind the agway somewhere that way. And apparently it was used before the blue storage tank was created. It was an interim tank, and it sits there. So we've explored, we voted to put that into surplus, and we're going to look at sale or scrap, whichever. And but right now it's looking like it's hard to sell as a usable thing. It's been sitting there so long. But and then we would look at the same thing for the old generator. But like Brent was hinting, the new generator is propane based, so it's got the torpedo tank, I forget, was it 5,000? It's a fairly good sized tank that they'll put there. And the generator,
Buried tank?
no, it's above ground, above grade. Yeah.
You know, you're gonna lose come cold weather. You're not gonna get the full percentage out of that tank. They can give you that, when they're buried, they're better.
That part I don't know, but what do you mean, how do you lose it, what
Because
happens?
what happens is, once it drops below a certain degree, and then it goes back to a liquid. It doesn't become a gas.
But how do you lose it though?
You don't lose it, but you won't get the gas. It's gotta be gas, you can't burn the liquid.
Oh, you mean it just if you had to turn it on?
It will transfer itself right back to a liquid state.
We could ask the
In
engineer.
a gas state where you're pulling off the top. That's where you get your frost lines and your barbecue tanks and stuff.
Yeah, I know my house, I have propane cooking and I can use it all winter, but we'll check that out with the engineers.
When was the last time that other generator ran, do you know?
God, I have no idea. I mean, I've got to believe 20 years. I have no clue. I mean,
The tank's been gone for about 4 or 5 years now.
yeah, I have no recollection of that. So.
What was the problem with Bucky Coon, A.W. Coon? Why did he just all of a sudden pick up and leave? I can't understand that one.
We don't understand it
For
either.
many years, 'cause, you know, he's been here, was there a problem with the board, or, you know, I mean,
What do you hear?
you know, because
What do you
I
hear?
worked for a paving company, we did 9 and 199, and I had problems on some Ludlow Avenue and a few other streets, and he was right there.
Do you hear something?
No, I didn't say I heard anything.
I'm just asking, because I haven't heard anything.
No, I'm just wondering why, all of a sudden, the guy goes like that all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's
He tells us
You know,
his
they've been
business
here a long time.
he tells us his business is growing too much and he doesn't feel like he can respond in emergency operations in a quick enough fashion.
That's what he told you, okay.
anyway. Any other questions from out there? Let's see, I think we've hit everything we need to. We need to make a motion to pay bills after audit.
Go to executive session.
Pardon me? Oh, yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's do the motion to pay bills after audit, and then we'll sneak, I'm just looking for, I still have to sign this, and you guys on this end have to sign this. But let's jump executive session for contracts. We won't be long if the crowd feels like it wants to wait. Is there I'll make a motion, we move in to talk in executive about contracts issues. Is there a second? All in favor? Okay, we'll go in. We'll be right back.
He said he was gonna, but he didn't.
All right, we're back. What time? 9:08. Is there a motion to return to regular session from executive?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Okay, we're back to executive session, excuse me, regular session. Before we left, we were entertaining a motion to pay bills after audit. So before you do leave tonight, that's separate and distinct from this one on the water project, so if you guys want to get that. But the motion to pay bills is the general monthly bills. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And then we let Mr. Kowalczyk, are you
BK broiler, go ahead.
ready?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's March 4th, 2013, Red Village Board of Trustees meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.